So it's round two, or show number two. Ain't no round to it, but Marc Clarke has joined me here to talk about, basically, it's two guys with 6 daughters and the issues that come up with that, and just any other issues that happen to be, for example, like all that stuff that's in the news right now. You got the Paula Deen thing,
Ooh.
right? You've got the Defense of Marriage Act being basically kicked in the butt. You got, what else is going on? You got the Snowden guy who
NSA,
with the secrets.
yeah.
Yeah, you got all this going on right now, and then not to mention what happens locally when we had people robbing people with AK-47s here in town, and you got people who are robbing like AT&T stores and tying people up, and it's just, it's going to be a long hot summer. We're losing our minds over here. So I guess, do your kids ever ask you about something? Do you ever have to explain these things to your kids about how life is?
Well, I think, it's interesting. My 8-year-old, gonna be 9, she always has those kind of questions. It's weird. This generation loves facts because I think all these, all this internet stuff, they have a whole bunch of facts out there.
Mm-hmm.
So she will ask me about, what does NSA mean? And what exactly does it do? And then, of course, I say, well, let's Google it. That's my answer to 99% of everything. Well, let's Google it. Daddy, I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't know geography. I don't know what NSA. I don't know.
What's pubic hair?
Yeah, I don't.
I have no idea. Heard that term at all. I've never heard that term.
Let's Google it.
How many times have you gone with the go ask your mom?
I don't do that one.
You don't do that one?
No. I don't do that one. We Google it, and I got having 3 girls who are starting to grow bumps and lumps and hairs here and hairs there. I find myself in the middle of those conversations. Like today, I had to go get some pads for Sydney, with wings for heavy flow. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so then first it's almost like embarrassment.
Yeah.
But then I'm all in. Then I don't really want to. Okay, y'all, that's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough. Okay.
But you were the little boy who got sent to the store to buy those things when you were a kid.
True.
See, I've never dealt with any of that.
Yeah. No, I'm all in, dude. I know. Sadly, I know too much. I know too much. Yeah, I know too much. Especially those days. You used to go get those were massive pads.
Yeah.
They were like little life rafts.
You used to go get Kotex.
Right.
Right.
Kotex online.
Price check. Isn't he kind of young to be buying those?
And they put it in a bag,
Oh, how about the time we don't have any bags big enough for this? You have to carry. We don't have any bags. You got to carry it in the hood all the way to the house. And
well, it's funny.
Then you see everybody. Then you see everybody you know.
Yeah, but like you said, I didn't know any different. I wasn't even embarrassed by it. Box Kotex. Yep. Today, my mother-in-law, I took my mother-in-law to the store. She did pick up the pads. What was interesting was she had covered them up. To help me out. She had a piece of paper.
Yeah.
She had them covered up. She was like, you can look under there. She asked me, is that what we're looking for? I was like, yeah.
Man.
Wow.
See, my mom, when I was a kid, I didn't have to go buy them, but when they knew they were in the house, because she would nail the box to the wall. Tan, 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 tan. They'd be right there, man. Right there. Right to the left of the toilet. Like you sit down on the toilet, bam, big old box right there, man.
You had 3 sisters?
2 sisters.
Okay.
Big purple box. And no, I never touched the box. I never looked in the box. I never wanted to fool with any of that. I was just, now.
Yeah, man. So the Paula Deen thing, we talked briefly about it because we go to Hilton Head each year, which, by the way, we're going Saturday.
Yeah.
And Paula Deen's restaurant is in Savannah. And so they're familiar with her. We never, the restaurant's always super crowded. Not anymore, no. But
well, didn't they shut them down?
No.
They shut down 4 of them. On Caesars had 4 restaurants, restaurants in the casinos, and they closed them all.
Wow. Well, yeah. I think she still had. I think the one in Savannah, I think, is like her restaurant.
Now,
right?
Would you go now if you were down there and it's not crowded? And would you go as a black man and a black family? Would you go?
Yeah, I'm not protesting. I'm not protesting Paula Deen. I think it's interesting. She got caught. I think it's like she got her wake up call. But at the same time, I watched her apology, on the internet today, not apology, or interview on the Today Show.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was interesting. I think just like, when I asked that question, If she had lied, it would have looked better. But I respect the fact that she told the truth. But it's like a no-win. You know what I mean? In telling the truth, she killed herself. Because it would be like, ask that question under oath. Ask any question under oath. If you were totally honest, I think most people would be in trouble. You know,
Well,
because we have said inappropriate things, and most people would just lie. I think the average person would just lie. But she decided to tell the truth and shame the devil and lost the money.
But I think a lot of people they give her a pass for the N-word because of who she is, not so much who she is, of how old she is and where she's from.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the problem a lot of people have was the most recent things of calling employees monkeys and things like that. I think that's the part that bothers people. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, but that part wasn't on the stand.
No, but it's come out.
But that's alleged, though.
Well, okay.
I'll give you that. That's not. I mean, that's alleged. Everything is because I think what happened with me was some of the stuff that I thought was outrageous when I did the research. The only thing official was said on, I guess, what she said in court. Everything else I think is kind of like somebody suing because of mistreatment, and that obviously plays in the person's favor. I think at the end of the day, like I say, we don't believe that she didn't say all that crazy stuff, but I don't know if there's any proof that she did. But
let me go back to your vacation coming up to where you going, Hilton Head, Myrtle Beach?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hilton Head.
So you're going there, and she's got a restaurant there, and you say you would have no problem going to the restaurant. But then if you do that, what kind of message are you sending to your girls?
Well, I think the I'm reading this Nat Turner book, right? And which is great because reading about history really helps you understand, have a clearer understanding of why things are what they are. So I think, again, if I'm honest, we're not going to Paula Deen's restaurant, but would we go? We could go because I think being honest and real with life is how it's supposed to work. You know what I mean? So I would not, like, we go to Cracker Barrel, which was sued for discrimination, and had to come around. Every year we go to Cracker Barrel. I mean, we go to Cracker Barrel all the time. Now, the reality is America or Hilton Head or Bethesda, where I live, all these areas have, sadly, this racial history, which isn't positive, which is usually the narrative is mostly people of color, being treated improperly. But I don't think protesting Paula Deen's restaurant for me isn't necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily have to do that. I understand people who say, look, she has a discrimination suit. I'm not going there because this person was treated unfairly. I understand that, but I'm not going to say that I wouldn't necessarily go, which again, that's just honest. I think again, talking about it, finding out how we're treated when we go there, finding out the energy of the people who work for her, the black people who work for her, because they didn't all leave. It's their job, So it's kind of like dealing with it. I think is more powerful than necessarily not going,
Well, now I remember many years ago you told me that your mom told you that if you ever got in a fight because somebody said something about her, she would whoop you. Right? Now, have you applied that same logic in your talks to your girls? I mean, what have you told your girls if they're called the N-word? What have you told them to do?
What's funny, it's different now. It's like, the first of all, fighting, that's not even really our conversation about fighting. You really have to do with if somebody physically does something to you, you have every right to defend yourself. You know what I mean? But yeah, as far as fighting because of words, no, you're not gonna fight because of words. You're gonna have a conversation. Someone spoken inappropriately, you would tell the appropriate person, your teacher, the person who's in charge of that area. Which is funny. It's so suburban,
Oh yeah.
It's like It's like, there's a chain of command. But yeah, you're not going to just, if someone says something, that's not enough for you to get permission to fight.
Gotcha.
I just don't believe that. What about you, man?
Uh, I've explained to my girls that, there's never a reason to put your hands on anybody. Okay. Now, if someone puts your hands on you, you do what you got to do to defend yourself.
Right.
Right? But having an argument with somebody is not reason to put your hands on them. And there's lots of examples of, there was recently a councilwoman here in one of our suburbs, Wellston, who is in trouble for a couple of instances of once she threw a soda can at a council member, allegedly, and it's like, these are teaching moments to teach
Mountain
my
Dew?
kids.
Was it Mountain Dew?
Did you do the do? But I tell my kids all the time that, and I've said this I've had debates with women on the radio about when the whole Chris Brown thing happened with Rihanna, when he beat her, when it came out that he beat her, the pictures came out, things like that.
Mm.
I maintain that a man never has a reason to hit a woman. Even if the woman hits him first, that's
Right.
not reason, because you will never win that battle. And the case in point is Chris Brown. Chris Brown will have that stink on him for the rest of his life.
Right.
Right? He could become a preacher, but people are gonna always say, he beat Rihanna back in the day. That will always be on him. He'll never get that off. Did Sydney, your oldest, did she ask you when the Chris Brown thing when Rihanna happened a few years ago? Did she ask you about it?
Oh, they were done. Oh yeah, they were done. They up to this day, they're not Chris Brown fans. They're not.
Their choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, their choice.
I mean, because sometimes a parent will bar the music from the house, ban the
no,
music from the house, but they just chose that he wasn't.
Yeah, I think those days. I'm not gonna say they're over, but I think you got to engage. That's what I'm saying. I think dealing with the issue, I think, is much more powerful and getting to the bottom of it than just boycotting or ban. I think those days are kind of over. Because not over, but I think it's not constructive. It's not really a teaching moment or a learning moment. You just it makes it easy if you just say, okay, we're not going to do this. Let's have a conversation about it. I think, that's the part that, especially now, these kids have to think. You want to get their point of view. Like this, you mentioned the NSA with this the gentleman
Eric Snowden.
that's on the run.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was interesting that the co-founder of Apple,
which was it? Wozniak?
Woz, said basically, he said, number one, they never thought the internet would be what it is right now.
True.
And he called Snowden a hero. The guy from one of the rock groups, the brother that plays guitar, the basic Guitar Hero is modeled after him. I can't think of his name.
Mm-hmm.
He's in Rage Against the Machine.
Okay.
And he would pay to have him fly to Ecuador or whatever. So I was like, wow. At first, the first feeling, again, if as a person, American, whatever, following the narrative, you go, okay, this guy's a traitor. He's a spy. You basically, he's a criminal. And yes, he's a criminal because he's been charged as a criminal. But what's kind of happening here is people feel like he exposed something that they were not aware of. So the conversation ends up being, okay, I think we can no longer say, this guy is a criminal, therefore, this is how I feel about criminals. I think the overall conversation, or not even if it's not a conversation, the information that was exposed is something that is the real, I think that's the real, to me, issue of concern. What he did is between him and the law. You know what I mean? What's exposed is your personal life. And I just think it's amazing how we kind of Americans, parents, kids, whatever, we can get lost on that aspect that really has nothing to do with us versus what's been shown to us.
Well, yeah, but see, to me, he is a criminal, and what he did was wrong because he broke the law. I'm one of those guys who believes in the law, right? But the other side of it is, as we as a society nowadays, led by a younger generation, we applaud anytime we can stick it to the government any way we can. Anytime we can see, well, what he told was the truth. What he exposed was the truth. But we all know, we know that the government has been doing this stuff. We just don't want to admit it. But we know this was going on. At least we had a pretty good idea. And here's the other thing. We don't live in the same world post 9/11 that we did before. It's not the same world. You want to live in a safe country, you've got to give up certain things.
Well,
You got to understand for us to feel safe in this country, certain sacrifices are going to have to be made. Now, are we willing to do that? It's coming to the point where we're going to have to decide yes or no.
Well, but I think the challenge is that's what we are led to believe. But the question becomes, don't we have a right to know? See, I think that's what I think this generation, like, and not just this generation, but every generation that's young, from the 60s or whatever. I don't know if it's sticking it to the man, quote unquote, or it's the realization that, it's becoming, when the truth gets exposed, I think it usually happens when you're young.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very shocking to most people. Like you said people know. I don't think people understand, like Wozniak said. So the cloud or whatever system you have, the cloud, the government can go through all your information.
Yes.
I don't think the average person realizes that. Because I don't think the average person, when they sign all these documents on the internet, when you give them your X, your signature.
Oh, yeah, when you sign up for a Facebook account.
Exactly. You're not reading the small print. And so I think the average person doesn't. So therefore, they don't know. And I think this information that's now out is almost like it was the wake-up call for a lot of people. Like, it's safer to send a letter in the mail with information on that than it is to send an email. Would the average person think that? I don't think they would.
No.
Now, you may, or I may, because we're more in tune with it. But the average person, so I think that's what happens. It's like, okay, government, okay, Barack, okay, what's going on? I didn't know this was going on.
But this was going on before he was president. It's been going on for a while. It's just now coming out. But, there's been talk in St. Louis about drones flying them over, parts of St. Louis because we have such a violent city. And
right.
So people say that's not right. But the question again becomes, you want a safe community. We have this technology. What do you want to do?
You never asked it. You're not asked. That's what I'm saying, Tony. We're not in the conversation.
Well,
so you're not in the conversation.
But I think the assumption is, though, people want to live in a safer community, so they go. But here's the question, though. Out of your 3 kids, which one would you say right now is more in line with the way you think?
I think they are. I think they're all probably not. They're all probably, yes, the oldest and the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
The middle child, well, I think they probably are pretty not pessimistic, but they are kind of seeking the truth.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's you.
They're not necessarily believing the story.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of like, I think that it's a combination of being black kids in a predominantly white neighborhood and white school. It's us. It's having grandparents who are Peace Corps, who had access to information, and parents who kind of have that conversation that probably challenges. I don't necessarily. Would you say I was back then didn't believe the story back then when we worked together?
What story?
The story that basically I don't necessarily believe what the government says necessarily.
But you never have. You've always been a conspiracy theorist. You've always been like that.
I didn't know. That's why I knew you would know.
Yeah. You would have these debates with people. This is a man who one time called our general manager a racist to his face and got away with it because he's such a charming man.
Except when it came to get paid.
No, but I mean,
And he said the words, "I didn't have a problem with Tony until you came." Huh?
Did they really say that to you?
Yeah.
Really?
I was like, really? You had a problem? Yeah, I was like, wow.
But see, what they didn't tell you is that I wasn't on medication until you came, right? That all happened at about the same time. When I wasn't on medication, they used to run from me. But that's for another story. And in a future episode of what we're doing now, I do want to talk about the black kids in the white neighborhood, the thing that you go through, because I'm going through the same thing. So I want to get your perspective, but we'll do that in another episode. But I will tell you this: we were at a restaurant. I forget the name of it, but it was crowded, so we had to wait. And this one little white kid, little boy, he was standing outside. So when we walked outside after we gave our name, because it was a nice day, he points at us and he goes, "The jazz people. Those are the jazz people." And I was like, "Who is this little boy? Who's this little boy? Who is this little boy? And why is he calling me a jazz person?"
It's the jazz people, baby.
That's like being called Canadian. Remember that?
Jazz people.
The
That's
jazz
hilarious.
people. The jazz people. And it goes to show that kids, they pay attention.
Oh yeah.
They pay attention. I mean, I was in my bedroom one time watching. I don't know what I was watching, but Maria at the time, she's 13 now. She must have been about 5 or 6 at the time. It was some kind of crime drama or something. There was some fighting going on. And she goes, "Wow, he kicked him right in the ass." And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Wait, what?" I said, No. Then it dawned on me, right? She got that from me.
Ah.
Right? So
I need a jazz person.
I need to be I needed to be a little bit more careful with my language, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you careful with your language?
Yeah, Allison errs on that more than I do.
Does she really?
Yeah, she does more than I do. It's weird. I'm not really much of a cursor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've been accused of being no highs and no lows, no highs and no lows. So I think I'm rarely in that spot, except where I'm yelling at them to do something. But when I'm yelling at them, it's not at that level. You know, it's more almost that frustrating parent sound.
Yeah,
I'm not really cussing them out.
Do what dad says.
Exactly. Now, you know, you tell them to do something, they slowly.
Yeah.
So it's more. I think the cursing aspect, and I think I'm aware to some degree that I don't want to cross that line,
right,
of inappropriateness, because then they don't really hear you. I think you're in a whole different deal when you do that, Well,
do your kids, are they different? Like, for instance, if my wife tells the girls to do something, they'll keep doing what they're doing for a minute. She got to tell them like 2 or 3 times, right? But if I tell them to do something, they do it right away.
Right.
Do you have that dynamic?
Yeah, except, yes, and it is interesting, and with the dogs too. Because there's not as much play. The baby is the one, though, that you're going to have to, But yeah, and it's interesting. I think that is an interesting dynamic, I think, with mothers and fathers, and how the kids kind of know. It's weird. Like, I sometimes feel bad of how harsh I talk to them or how it sounds, but they really don't even hear it like that because I've always done it that way. Now, when their mom gets to that point, if their mother said the exact same thing in the exact same way I said it, they'd be crushed. They very much respect and want to be on the good side of mom.
Yeah.
So when mom gets down, then they're crushed. When I get down, they don't care.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, he's typical. It's typical dad, because I'm always kind of pick this up,
Because when I'm at home and my wife tells them to do something and they sit there, and I'll just yell out, I got to get my hearing checked, because I could have swore your mother told you to do something. Did I miss something? Am I missing something? And and then they'll just look. I'm like, why are you still sitting there?
Right.
And when they were really little, when their mother would call them, or what I would call them, I would tell them, when I call you or your mother calls you, you don't say what. You get up and you come see what we want.
Exactly.
And that's more of a respect, teaching, discipline kind of thing that I believed in. So I would tell them that when I call you, you come see what I want. Don't say, what? I don't want to hear that, man. And please don't say, huh? Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that, man.
That's our old school. That's our old school up. I think that's another dynamic too. That's how we were raised.
Yeah.
That kind of snap to it, kind of when you move quickly, kind of deliberately. We that's one of our pet. I think I'm the same way. It's like, and they could, or you call them and they just take their time. No. But what's interesting is, seriously, the dogs do the same thing. It's almost like they understand because of your presence and your body language that, what's going on. And I think sometimes maybe moms don't, use it to their advantage. Some do. My mother was a man, but you know, you know, I mean, I really do think that happens. Like women who are single moms and who end up taking on those kind of same characteristics because they don't have time. I don't have time.
Well, here's another dynamic, and this will be our last one. Some women have a real problem when someone says to them, single mom, happy Father's Day. They have a real problem with that. I don't understand that. I've told lots of women happy Father's Day. I mean it as a compliment because
you mean it in love.
I mean it. I mean I have aunts who had to work 2 jobs, and the minute they had some time, they had to go out to the ball field with their sons to the ball game, take them to practice, even go out there and practice with them in the yard, hitting balls, playing basketball. They had to play. They were the ones changing the spare tires. They were the ones changing the oil in their car. They were being the dad and the mom. So I saw this coming up, and I'm sure you did too.
It's my mom.
Yeah. So when a man, I think when a man says happy Father's Day to a woman, he's not trying to insult you. He's not saying you're manly. He's paying a compliment to you. And if you don't understand that, maybe you're wound a little bit too tight.
Well, now, Tony, that's not fair.
Well, I'm just asking.
Well, I think everybody interprets. Is that a word?
Don't you work the radio?
I know. I think you're right. You meant it in love, and that happens. Again, my mother was a great, observing my mother was great in that I think you're right. A lot of times the moms who have to do that, we say are wound tight. No, they almost don't have a break. You know what I mean?
No, I'm
so
not.
You're right.
But I'm not talking about that part. I'm just talking about you're wound so tight that you don't see a compliment.
Well, but I think you got a couple. You have a couple dynamics working there.
Okay.
Some women are fine with it. My mother would be fine with that. You know what I mean? Other women are not. Some women are offended. Like I heard that kind of conversation with some women. Like I said, people gave them a card on Father's Day, or they said, "I'm the father." You never know how they interpret it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's a delicate issue. So if they don't take the compliment, I can understand because there's a lot of things going on there. Like you said, some women could be so frustrated that saying that almost confirms what they have going on in their life, which they hate. Mm-hmm. And so they like, don't say that to me. You know what I mean? Gotcha. Some women, it's like my mother. My mother was great because like a lot of women who are single moms and make it happen and raise successful kids, they stand on it. And some women even almost have the attitude where I don't need no man. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Some women, like my mother, would say, honey, saying it to another woman, I would have loved to have a man, to do this with me. I did what I had to do. So her attitude wasn't, I'm the man with swagger. I made it happen. I don't need no damn man. Her attitude was always, I wish I had a man, And so, but I think just like that, the people who accept the compliment or those who reject it, it's complex. Okay. Because you know what I mean? Yeah. And so I think that's what happens. So when it happens, you just have to say, sister, I just was giving you props. I just wanted to give you props for doing a great job. Because I think all that, it's like my wife right now. A lot of responsibility that Allison didn't have when I was making 6 figures, she has now. And she doesn't like it. She would love to not have to worry about certain things that she worries about now. So for her, it really is like a bummer. You know what I mean? To be in the position that we're in right now. For some, it would be like, it wouldn't be as much of a bummer. It is what it is, Everyone, so it's all, I think all these things, women and men, have these in these super, just like you, Tony. I mean, in these super stressed positions, mm-hmm. There's no way to really interpret what exactly. Like right now, Tony, if I could say, if I said, Tony, I'm going to do this to ease your burden, you could be like, thanks, Mark. But in reality, over here would ease your burden more than what I did for you. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Right.
And I think sometimes, so when that happens, some people just are gracious and say, thanks, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Other people be like, I didn't ask for that. And then I'm offended. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, what's wrong with Tony? I tried to ease his burden. He didn't even accept it. He's like, because, I didn't need, you know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Why didn't you ask me what I wanted to do?
Right.
Then I'm like, oh. So all these dynamics, I think, and we started this whole conversation, Tony, like you said, with all that's going on in the world, I think a lot of people are in that space. You don't really know what they want. And may not even know. And so maybe we just have to do like we're doing and just talk about it. And with our friends and loved ones, ask them,
Right.
before we assume it, we almost have to ask it, hey, blah, 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 blah. And then, oh yeah, that's great.
Okay.
We do our thing and our show we're doing. And 9 o'clock was our meetup time. And I didn't call you, and it was past probably 9:10, almost 9:15. So, you could have gone off when I called, hey, yo, man, where you been? You know what I mean? You handled it very graciously.
Yeah.
Because you know me and whatever. But you got interviews you got to do.
Mm.
I could be pushing something else back and making it inconvenient. So when we do those kind of things, if you did cuss me out, I got to be able to be like, yeah, well, I did tell Tony I called at 9 o'clock. You know what I mean? I can't be mad.
Yeah.
And I think we're because so much stuff is going on, like you said, Tony, just
Yeah.
every day, like, how I feel about the president because of the NSA stuff and because a lot of stuff that's going on and because of these certain dynamics. It's very interesting. I voted for Barack. I'm a big Obama supporter, and I believe the fact that he's a black president, he did it. He can do no wrong. But there are a lot of questions for me now. Then I'm like, wait a minute.
Well, see, that I admire about you and anybody who feels that way, because it bothers me that people give him blind loyalty.
Yeah.
And I've heard him say, like during his first term, that he didn't mind criticism. He wants people to challenge him because he wants to make sure that he's doing the right thing, right? And I would try to explain that to people, and people were like, "Oh, he's the first black president. We got to support him." But no. But I think most people don't understand how the whole thing works, because a lot of people, black and white, but that's for another time. Because I think white people, I heard one lady one time say during the campaign the first time that the blacks were going to take over. Well, but what does that mean? Because it's not a dictatorship. He can't do anything without Congress's approval, And then I heard some African Americans say, hey, things are going to change. What's going to change? He's our president. No, he's not. He's everybody's president.
Yeah.
So, but that's for another time, though. So we'll wrap it up right here, man, and appreciate your time.
Totally appreciate you, man. This was your brainchild, and I'm so glad, man, because I think, conversations like this and with dads and with moms and about our daughters is much needed, man. You don't see that. Or with sons.
Well, and our next talk, I want to talk about how you show your love for Allison, your wife, in front of your girls. What do your girls see? Mm-hmm. So we'll do that in our next talk, man. So have a great vacation, man. So we'll hopefully be together again next week. If you want to leave a comment, you can leave one down below. Subscribing, of course, helps. Giving it a thumbs up means a lot too. In some countries, it would mean we're engaged. So we'll see you next time.